Greetings, salutations, and all good things in between. What's up, everyone? Matt here. Man, it's good to be back. It's been 2 weeks. I wasn't here last week. I went and I was visiting some friends, so I put out a little video, but we're back. Welcome back. Hope you got a whole lot of stuff done. Hope you made a lot of progress. If not, hopefully we can get through it, right? Yeah. So what do we got on the docket for this week? So I've got some brief news about AppSheet Insider and the things that are going on over there. I'm going to go over the comments from everybody on the recent videos that I've put out for the past 2 weeks. There's a lot of good comments over there, a lot of good questions. Stick around. I'm going to go over, there's been a few things of release of note from AppSheet. I'll go over those. And today I'm going to do a deep dive in a Google Calendar integration, answering a long past question from a Patreon that was asked months ago, and I'm finally getting to it. So stick around. And of course, at the very end, I'm going to do, live chat questions. So if you got any burning questions, get them in the chat and I'll answer them at the end. All right, everybody, that's it. Thanks for being here. I do appreciate it. If you're new, like, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. Let's get to it.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. Sound right, boys.
Yeah. Oh, man. Thank you. Sorry about that. Audio. We got audio now, right? We good? Yes? Okay. I hope so. I see audio on my HD mic is now working. Let me make sure that it works on all the other pages. Like, you can still hear me. You can still hear me. You can still hear me. We should be good. And then, like, Cam 2, you should be able to still hear me. The GoPro cam, you should still be able to hear me. You should be able to hear me. Yes? Yes. Thanks, Tommy. I appreciate it. All right. So, technical difficulties. So, first thing that I want to talk about this week is the AppSheet Insider. So, if you've gone over to appsheetinsider.com, and you might have noticed it's just routing back to my main website, MultiTech Visions. That's because I was originally using Wix to build the website over there, and to be honest with you, I'm growing weary of that. There's just little things, like when you first go to the website and you try and click on one of the navigation links on the main bar, like it's not responsive. There's like slow loading times, and sometimes like the links don't work right away. Just little things. So what am I planning on doing? I'm going to take everything that I was doing over there on AppSheet Insider, but I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to build an AppSheet app that is all of that stuff that I was doing over there. So I'm talking a place where you can buy auto tables. So like this, so I'm going to have to integrate some sort of payments solution. That'll be fun. Like Stripe or something, right? I'm going to integrate all of those walkthroughs that I was starting to put out. I'm going to have those there as well. And so yeah, all of the things that I was doing on AppSheet Insider, I'm going to continue to do them, but I'm going to do them by building a native AppSheet app that is the thing that I'm doing. What better thing to do? I'm an AppSheet app channel, so why not? You know what I mean? It just fits, right? Yeah. So that's what's going on with AppSheet Insider. So for now, it's just gonna keep porting over to MultiTech Visions, but eventually I'm gonna start streaming the build of this AppSheet Insider website thing, right? And so everybody can see how to do what I did for that. Cool. That's what I've got going on for the AppSheet Insider thing, and that's really kind of all that I got for all of the updates. Not a lot going on right now, just kind of working on stuff. So let's dive into the next. Yeah, so it's been 2 weeks since I've gone over any kind of comments or anything, and there's been some good stuff that people have questioned about. So if we dive into things, so would you go down here all the way to the bottom? Go to the bottom ones first. Okay, so this question down here is actually the one that I'm going to be answering in today's Patreon live stream. So that's about creating Google Calendars and things. So if we zoom in, there we go. So Kimit Patel asks, hi, is it possible to consolidate? Okay, yeah, nope, I already kind of went over that one in the, these are ones that I've been working on slowly. Yeah, okay. Ami, here we go. This is the one I was looking for. So Ami has a question. Just ran into a big problem. For some of my apps, my first sheet is called PM. Now, shouldn't be a problem unless I copy my app and then AppSheet creates a new worksheet for me, naming it PM. If I try renaming it, well, it breaks the app. Yeah. You can reconnect it. Can I copy and tell AppSheet how to call my new worksheet? I currently have 5 worksheets with the same name. Yeah, that's difficult, right? That's some of the things that you just kind of got to deal with AppSheet, are some of these things. Like when you download a CSV, you don't get control over the name of that thing, or when it's little things like that, right? And this is one of those where when it copies the sheet, yeah, it's just gonna rename it like that. Okay, so the thing that you can do, when you rename the sheet, it breaks the app. Okay, all you've got to do, it's an order of operations type of deal in this situation. You just got to make sure that close the app so it's not open in an editor, and then rename your sheet, then open the app. It's going to open in a broken state, but it should have the new information about what you just renamed your sheet. And so then it's just a matter of going to whatever table for the sheet that you renamed and changing that. And if you're talking about changing the whole workbook, like the whole file itself, and that's breaking it, it's just a matter of going back through, like if you go to one of the tables that's broken, and you go to the source drop down, right? It'll be like, oh, this isn't a thing that exists. You just go back into your data source and find the actual file that you renamed. It's the same one. And you just have to reconnect it. You can get it to work. Little finicky things like that, I know. Yeah, you just gotta kind of deal with things like that sometimes. The next one here is about how to copy tables from one value to another, these blueprint tables. Norm says, especially like the last quarter of your video where you explain some of your app development process and why and when to use certain constructs. Coming from an MS Access background where just about anything can be done except online multi-users. I know, right? What's that? They haven't solved that yet? What? This is a very different way of development. For instance, slices seems to be a combination of a query and a record set. And AppSheet seems to require that a few steps to do the equivalent of a simple action query. Yeah, pretty much. It is, yeah, there's a few things when you're building inside of AppSheet that, like, coming from a data a data normalization or like, standard practices, there's a few things that you do inside of AppSheet that's different. The thing that comes off the top of my head right now is, so data normalization, you should traditionally never copy a value from like a parent to a child. There's no reason to take the address from the parent and store that on the child record too. We have it over there, right? Okay, but sometimes inside AppSheet, having the address on the level over here is a lot easier on the system than trying to brute force it. So there are some things that you do inside of AppSheet that are stray from the norm, but you do generally follow most standard practices for that. So if you just kind of have that in your mind, stick with those general principles that for like MS Access and building data sources and things like that. Stick to all of those, and they're going to serve you well in the future. You kind of future-proof your app if you set it up that way. Next one here we got is from How to Force a Sync. So Ryan Knoll, hi Matt, I've been following along, but I am struggling to find how you implemented the new set status action. I haven't been able to make it work from the building ticket page. Could you help with that? Okay, so whenever you see something of this nature from me, those types of things, all that action is doing is it lives on whatever table for the record we're trying to modify. So if we're trying to change the ticket, right, then the action to change the ticket status needs to live on the ticket table. Like that's where the action needs to live. So in the behavior panel, you'll make a new thing and it will, like, for what table, it'll be the ticket. And then the thing is like, do this, change the value or set the values of some rows of this, it's that one. And then you're just changing the value, right? So like select the column and turn it to what you want it to be. The complications usually come in is when you're trying to get like, well, I want some kind of formula to conditionalize when it should run or things. And most of those things, they're all entirely like dependent upon the thing you're actually building. But yeah, no, if you have further questions about this, Ryan, just let me know, like your specifics, and we'll get it figured out. Okay. Santos Sai is asking for the discounts and totals. This is part 7 of the shopping cart build. He is asking, is it possible to add item number times kilograms times the product price? So as in, I've got 5 of these things and each one of those is 20 kilograms, and then the price is, $5 per kilogram, type of thing like that. I've actually had another client of mine ask for things like this. So in the future, I have it planned. I don't have it here really quick. For the shopping cart. So one of the upcoming next parts will be the ability to do like bulk pricing like that. So where you can say, I've got a product and this product is, by the unit or by the weight. And then you have a price. And if it's by the weight, then when you say, hey, I want, 5 of these, then it's like, well, 5 of what size? I'm not quite sure how I'm going to there's a whole bunch of different ways you could go with that, right? So I'm trying to find one that's kind of a nice universalized one. Let me know if you have any suggestions. I'm always open. The next one we got here is from, deep dive on when to use 2 tables instead of 1 with AppSheet. That's a fun one. Paul Reeder asks, so I'm going to have to switch this over to, there we go. Paul Reeder asks, this is where I have some difficulty with AppSheet or more generally no code. It often seems necessary to second guess what AppSheet or a no-code application will do with a table structure presented. You can generally know what they're going to do. In the standalone environment where actual coding is transparent and you know what will be achieved, right? Ironically, this is similar to what cooking a cake, where you either have complete control over the outcome through measuring and incorporating specific ingredients to produce the outcome you want to achieve, or using a packet of cake mix where someone else has predetermined everything in the ingredients, suggesting that you add, say, an egg or color or flavor as variation. In both cases, the result is a cake, but more often than not, the packet version is inferior to the crafted one. You know, I recently just connected with a friend who I haven't seen for a long time, and in the time when we weren't talking, he went to school and became a Python programmer, not knowing anything about AppSheet at all. So when we connected, it was really kind of an interesting experience because I was like, hey, I want to tell you about this amazing piece of software that I found online called AppSheet. And he's like, this sucks. It's like super restrictive, and like and for about an hour it was like this awesome little give and take between like, well all I see is this is a problem, and I'm like, yeah, but if you go with that you can do blah 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 blah, blah, and I can do that in like 20 seconds. And so it was a really interesting thing, but I feel you, yeah, that there are some restrictions that the AppSheet platform brings, right? I mean, the UX is the prime example. You can't do like custom CSS stuff and things like that. So it's really restrictive. However, if you stay in the playground, right? Like if you stay in the area, stay on the yellow brick road, and you use the tools that AppSheet's given you, you use them the way that they're intending you to use them, you can achieve amazing pieces of software. Sure, you don't have complete control over everything, but in most cases, you don't need that. There's a few that you do, sure. But in most cases, people don't need absolute control over everything. They just need something that works for like the majority of what they're trying to do. They can usually do away with the little thing that they wanted on the side. So I guess moral of the long story short here, don't don't poo-poo AppSheet too soon. Definitely give it some try, give it some time. You'd be amazed what you can find over there. The next one is from Peter Weiss, and this one is about the icon pairings and charts. And in this one, he's specifically talking about, are these charts images or dynamics? So like if any of the data changes, does the chart automatically update too? In the specific video that he's referring to there, I was showing how you could use Quick Chart specifically to generate a chart based on some data that you have inside your app. I think what I was looking at was a location inventory app. I think that's the one that I was still working on. And I have a quick chart inside there that shows like these are the inventory ranges. Like there's like a low inventory and it's a red, and then there's like the medium part where it's yellow, and then there's a green part where it's like if we're up here we're good, and then there's like an over part where it's like, okay, we have too many, and so then there's lines on there. Okay, it's all dynamic. That's the thing about using Quick Chart with integrating into your app like that, is Quick Chart renders an image, right? But the image itself is rendered dynamically. So if any of the data changes, the chart changes. I have intentions on doing a deep dive on how to integrate Quick Chart into AppSheet. There's a lot going on there. There's so many different ways you could go. I'm trying to see if I can't get Ian, the guy that actually created Quick Chart. I'm trying to see if I can't get him to like, hey man, let's do a little thing, and like come on the show and we could do a little talk or whatever. So stay tuned for that. The next few are for the video that I put out just last Tuesday. It's a simpler order of operations for action looping. Here we go. What to say? So hello, great video. Awesome. If you could also show the inside of the sync action. To be honest with you, the sync action, there's really nothing to these sync actions at all. It's just a deep link. Like, that's all it is. Generally, usually all I'm doing is like link to row and then like whatever row I'm looking at, because we're typically on like a detail view or we're in a form view and we're going to a detail view for the same thing we were in the form for. So it's like link to row, whatever row, and then like the detail view. But there's a special bit of code that you put at the end that tells the system, okay, when you go to this view, make sure that the data is updated as of, and then there's a timestamp. The timestamp is set to tomorrow. So every time AppSheet tries to load that view with that little timestamp thing on it, it's trying to load it with tomorrow's data, which means it's always syncing. Like it's trying to get tomorrow's data. So it's like, hey, I need some new stuff. That's how it works. But the code behind it's just a little boop thing that you can throw on it. If you search in the community after this, I'll throw the code down inside the description. It's super easy. There's really nothing to it, mate. The next one, Luis Rodriguez says, also important, adding an action to delete the extra rooms if the number is less than the current. What he's referring to there is in the video, I implemented a looping system where I say, I want the system to create 5 things. And so then it just does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It just counts the number. He's talking about it would be important to also add in another action inside this loop, right? Where if there's more than what the person is selected, it deletes the extras. Now, I like where your mind's going. There's too many people, I'm guilty of this myself so much, of not working backwards. You know, when we're building our AppSheet apps, you know, we're usually working on, we're moving forward, you know what I mean? And we largely can space, well, I need to create stuff that works backwards too. Like what happens if they delete this record? Well, then I need to, you know, maybe update, like if I'm on an order and I delete a line item, well, I need to update the order total then because things just changed, right? Sometimes people aren't thinking backwards like that. So it's good that you are. However, I would caution, automatically deleting things can be a problem, can get you in trouble, right? Because, okay, what happens if one of the items that the system decides it wants to delete is something that you don't actually want it to delete? Like maybe you wanted to delete one of these ones up here and it deletes the ones down here. Or you see what I'm getting at? There's scenarios, there's just too many ifs, too many questions about, well, do I want it to really delete in this situation? And delete, there's no undo for the delete. That's really the thing that I'm really kind of stressing on is, like, if you delete it, you can't undo that unless you build in some kind of recycle bin system inside your app. Video coming soon. Oh! So I would caution against automatically deleting things. However, maybe flagging these things as like, these are extra. You need to do something with these, right? And put formatting rules and something of that nature. I would maybe go that route instead of the automatic delete. All right. Last one here is, having problems with the Zoom. Here we go. From Bonds Pon. And he says, hi, sir. Do you have a tutorial about if the data table is status and the column value is completed and it will not be editable or unable to update? What possible expression should I use for this? Thank you. God bless. Okay. I actually have a video. I wish I would have read this. I would have gotten the link for you before the live stream. I have a video where that is literally a thing that I show you how to do, where you can lock down the record from being edited after a certain status. Like there's a status change where it's like completed, right? And so then it's just about finding that formula, and you can get that inside that formula after the live stream. I will put a link down in the description. And I've got one more here from somebody from Ahmed Abadi. Just showed up 7 hours ago. It's about scheduled reminders sample app. He says, is it possible to send out reminders at a random chosen time by the user, i.e. the user advises what time he wants to receive the reminder, and the app will, with one bot or behavior, send out a reminder at their requested time? I know that we can create multiple bots that will check and see if any reminders are to be sent out at a specific time, similar to what you've shown in your video for the scheduled thing. but I am hoping to be able to send out custom time reminders. Unfortunately, Ahmed, not really. No, the most, like, yeah, you're really running into some of the difficulties put there based on how automation runs and how the schedule part of automation works, right? So no, largely no. The answer is usually always yes inside AppSheet. So, I mean, there are ways to make this happen, but there is no one and done like you're hoping. Like, you will not be able to create one bot that does all of these things that the person wants to be able to do. There are different ways. So yeah, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of different ways you could go, right? So you could, if you're trying to do something that's running on a schedule, then the most frequency that you can have for a bot is daily, right? And so then you've got to pick the time. And so, you know, you could, thankfully they've made things modular, so you could create a process that does the thing that you want to do, and then you could just create X number of bots. Each one has its own individual time. So this is like, you know, where I'll create one thing every 24 hours, one for every 24 hours, you know? Yeah, you see what I mean? Like, not really a good one. The other way you might do this is if you change the way you're thinking about things, instead of having some kind of system to where it's a scheduled thing that goes out, maybe what you do is, so there's a wait step that you can use inside automation. And so maybe the thing that you do is you kick off the reminder when somebody saves whatever record is holding the data that is the reminder or something. You get what I mean? So it's like, if I'm creating these records that are the things that we need to do, so when I create the record, maybe it starts a bot right then and there when I create the record, and like the first thing it does is it's cool, wait, and it waits. You can wait 30 days. So this is where, like, again, it's not really a perfect fit, not really a good, you know, but like you can make it work probably. So they create the record and it waits 30 days, and then it wouldn't repeat. It would only happen one time. So you get where I'm going. Like, there's no real good answer for this. There's a lot of workarounds, but yeah, you're really kind of fighting some of the way that the system is built. And yeah, that's all of the really good questions over here on YouTube. So let's move on to the next one. So if you were in the community, you may have noticed there was a roundup that was put out, right? And there's some pretty good stuff inside this one. So they like to do these top contributor things. That's pretty fun. They've got the top 5 conversations. That's pretty neat. They talk about a whole bunch of new things that have happened, how you can stay engaged. They talk about the office hours that they do and the app jam that they had. There's a lot of really good stuff inside here. I'd suggest checking it out. I really kind of dig these monthly summary things that they do. They give people who don't have a whole lot of time to dig through the community the opportunity to kind of see at a high level what's been going on. So that came out this 2 weeks ago, right? In more recent AppSheet news, you've probably noticed that if you go to your My Apps page, it's different now, right? It's more looking like Google Drive. So that was been slowly being released, and it's now released for everybody. So everybody should be seeing that. Let me know what you think about it, in the comments. Do you have any problems with it? Is there some things that you like, some things you don't like? Like me personally, one of the things that I've noticed that's actually causing makes things just a little slower. They took out the separation between deployed and prototype apps. So when you're somebody like me, where I've got literally 100 plus apps, having that separation made it really easy for me to find these are the prototypes, because those are the ones that I'm working on generally. And so I could just scroll until I got to the big header and be like, okay, there we go. That's where I need to be. Now I got to dig in the middle. That's the only real thing that I've got to complain about that. Curious what you guys think yourselves. Other news, we've got Breadcrumbs came out. So if you use the, if you've been trying out the new desktop experience, one of the things that they've been working on is, so if you start somewhere and then I go to say, like I'm on a parent and then I go to a child record, and then from the child record, there's a reference to, you know, a category or something, or a product or something else. So then I go to that one. And then from there, I go to something else. And then from there, I go to something else. Okay. So what they've been working on this whole time is trying to implement a way to where you could have breadcrumbs up at the top. Like literally it would say, this is where you started, and then like a little forward carrot type thing, and be like, this is where you went, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And so then that would give you the ability to where then I could like see the whole chain and just drop back to like, I don't know, layer number 2 if I'm on layer number 8. You'll see this inside Google Drive. If you navigate from one folder to a subfolder and you keep going, you can see the breadcrumbs up at the top. They've implemented something like that for when you navigate through references inside the new desktop experience. That should be fun. I've always loved, that's always a really easy way to like get back to like layer 2. That's usually what I'm usually having to do, because it's like I started somewhere and I went somewhere, and then I went on a tangent looking for stuff, and it's like, all right, now I need to get back to like here now, you know? This will make that a whole lot easier. And the last thing for AppSheet news really only deals with if you do teams. So if you've got the AppSheet team thing going on, they've implemented a new governance policy that allows you to restrict external apps from connecting to your domain. So I've got an AppSheet team for, say I'm using MultiTechVisions.com, and I've got a Google Workspace, right, account for that, and I've got various users under the MultiTechVisions.com domain. If those people were to create their own apps, right, this governance policy gives you the ability to block those apps from working. I'm sure there's a lot of nuance involved there. I tried to find out a little bit more about like the nuts and bolts of how that would work, but it was pretty vague. So curious to see where that goes. But if you use Teams, you can now do that. So people can only use the approved apps that you are making. That's everything that I got for AppSheet news. Let's move on to the next. Oh! Oh! Whoa! A little technical difficulties. There's a few quick things that I'd like to go over. Some questions that some patrons asked weeks and weeks ago that I've been putting off getting to. I'm going to cover them right now. The first one comes from, let me get it up here, Vincent Galand. And he says, can I make that a little bigger? There we go, a little better. I have one question. I am planning to launch my MVP, and therefore I have realized lately that AppSheet has some defaults. They have a filter bar, UX limitations, stable version for updating is not available for a classic plan, etc. Is it possible to get an appointment with someone from Google to talk freely about the limitations, but also about pricing? How can we push to have visibility of feature roadmap? Thanks a lot. This was originally asked for when I was going to have Steve on. So this would have been a really good thing to ask him. I'm definitely going to push this to him, but I agree wholeheartedly. That is something that would be really nice to kind of get. There's been some, it's always kind of been behind a veil, to be honest, you know. Even for someone such as myself or like an insider or whatever, where I can go ask a question and maybe they will answer. Even then it's been kind of like, but yeah, no, it would be really dope to have like an actual roadmap that we could see. I do know that, so they have told me personally that the feature requests is something that like that's something that they're really focused on. They're really looking at that as this is where we're going to get our ideas of what we should do moving forward. And sadly, not a whole lot of people vote for things over there. So get voting. This next one comes from Glenn Misiph, and he asks, I would like to hear you discuss your best practices for making revisions and upgrades to deployed apps if you are not on the enterprise plan. This harkens back to, my brain, I can't remember it. To what Vincent was asking, where he said like updating is not available on the classic plan. Okay, yeah, so there are a few things that you can do to manage updating your app. And I've kind of got a 1, 2, 3 right here for you. So if I can get it, there we go. So you're right. You can't use the stable version if you're just using a regular, if you have like a core or the standard or the starter. I can't remember what the words are. If you don't have the enterprise, you can't use the stable version. But so what do you do? Okay, so the first thing that you can do, this is something that I do all the time, is add an extra column to your tables. Just add one column to every table. I actually usually add like 3 or 4, to be honest, because these things come in handy. If you're a patron supporter of mine, the standard starting template automatically has a temp column in the end. That's what that's for. The idea is like, okay, I'm in this scenario where I've got people in the field offline that are using the app, but I need to implement something right now while those people are out there, but I still need to make this fix because I need to fix something, right? Okay, if you didn't have an extra column inside your app that wasn't being used for anything, you are SOL in that situation. You have to wait for those people to get back online and get all of the stuff off of their apps so that they're, at a green state, with no updates or anything, and they're ready to go. Then you can do things. Okay, the solution, right? Add this temp column, because and the temp column is a simple thing. It's just literally, call it whatever you want. I call it temp 1. And it's like a text and it's hidden. There's nothing to it. It's literally there for you to use. So when you're in that scenario where you got people that are offline and I need to add a column to my table, I need to add a physical column to my table. I've got one there available. All I've got to do is repurpose the one that's there. This is why I usually do like 4. Because you ever fall into that scenario, having those there really helps. Because you won't break the app by changing what the column does. You break the app when you change the structure of the table. That's the key. So I can change what columns are doing. I can add virtual columns. I can blah, 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 blah. I can do all of this stuff to my heart's content. I just can't change the actual physical setup of the table when those people are offline. Can't change it. I can't reorder columns. I can't add. I can't delete. I need to leave that alone. But I can change what everything's doing inside there to my heart's content. So that's step number 1. Add an extra column into your table to manage that. Okay, the next thing you could do is, this is really just good standard practice for software developing, right? Manage your updates. You know that you're going to be doing some work on the app, and you probably can isolate out when you're going to be doing big changes, like when you need to make changes to the structure. So when you know that you've got to do stuff like that, okay, pause, send like an email out to everybody saying, hey, I've got some stuff I need to do that's going to break the app. I'm going to do it in a couple of days at this time between here and there, right? And so you set up a window where you say, app's not going to work during this time. And you just make sure that you communicate this to everybody so everybody's aware, so everybody knows, okay, on Friday at 9 a.m., the app's not going to work for an hour. So I need to know that I need to make sure that I have all my work done, that all my syncs are uploaded, like the user, they'll have this in their mind. So that's the way to do that, right? And then when you're doing that update, this is a thing that I've kind of figured out over the time. You don't have, like, the only time that's critical is when you're actually making the changes to the table structure. So really, you only need 5 minutes, because you need a 5-minute window where you can go to the data source, add your column, delete, do whatever you're doing over there to your data source, go back to the app and regenerate the columns. And as soon as you've got those columns in the system, you're good to go. You're good to go at that point. You won't break it any further, because after that, the structure is set. You're just changing what things do, right? So like, even when you're managing this thing where you say, oh, app's going to be broke for an hour on Friday, in reality, like it's only going to be broken for the small time where you're changing the columns, doing the actual column work. After that, you could technically say, okay, cool, we're good to run. As long as, you're not breaking it with software or breaking the formulas and references. You know what I mean? But like, so that's number 2, is managing the updates. One of the things that I have on here is, if you're a Patreon supporter of mine, I have a couple of auto tables that I put out that I literally made in order to manage this and make it easier. The welcome auto table and the notifications table. The whole idea with these is I've got a welcome page that's like a landing page for everybody. And then in that, I can have an inline view of all of these notifications. So when I need to do some sort of, I'm going to break the app and I need an edit window, I can create a notification record that's shown inside that welcome page. So when people open the app, they're immediately dropped into the welcome page and they can see the new notification. And maybe I create some way to like flag it so like they can acknowledge that they have seen it. I've done that in the past too, especially when we're dealing with updates like this, where I'm going to break the app. I need to make sure that this person responds and says, yes, I heard you. The app will be broken. I won't be using it. The last thing that you could do to help solve all of this is a development versus a deployed version. This is literally where you make a copy of your app and you use that secondary app as the thing that you're using to work on your app. Because then it's a separation of your apps. You literally have 2 different apps. The one that everybody's using, which I'm going to leave alone, right? That works. It's all good. And then the one that I'm working on. So then I can break this one. I could you know what I mean? Like it could be broken forever. And then eventually when I finally get it to the point to where, okay, this one's good, then I can go back to my production app and I can there's a feature inside there called App Upgrade. That's available for everybody. And basically what it does is it changes the app to a clone of whatever you specify. So you specify another app, and then that app becomes a clone of the other one. So I have a production version that people are using, and then I have a development version where I'm doing whatever, right? So then after a while, this one becomes the one that I want to use. I go back to my production version and I upgrade this one to this one. Make a few little changes to differentiate one from the other because it literally becomes a carbon copy. So like I need to change the name. But then there we go. All of these changes have now on top of this one, and this one is now good to go. And then I can keep working on this one. I can keep breaking it. And then when I'm ready to do it, port it over to that one. So there are methods that you can use to manage, deployments when you have people offline. It's not as nicely of a smooth integration than you get when you have the enterprise license, but you can still totally do it. One last thing before I'm going to dive into a calendar integration. That should be fun. Jared Mazzis, he asked, I feel like a spam bot with me being the only person asking questions. Don't. We spoke a couple of times about how having a grandparent link to the parent, link to the grandchild was buggy. Some weirdness there. Yeah, I just go with it. And you said I should do it through actions, but how would I lead the user through the experience if the number of records in the child table always changes? Okay, what he's been talking about up here is like, what if I'm in a child record and then I need to create 3 grandchild records? How can I manage that sort of interaction so that it's like, from the parent, I create the child. From the child, I create the first of the grandchildren, then the second, then the third. Like, how can I smooth over that sort of flow? How can I make that a smooth interaction? He says, I have a cash app where users record their sales for the day and then their purchases. This table is purchases is the grandparent. They then create purchase invoices on the parent level. And as my app works currently, they then add individual line items at the grandchild level. Obviously, every invoice is different, so I don't think looping here, I don't think I can loop here. So how else can I get this right? Let me know if you need more context. So what he's talking about is he's got, like, say we've got a day record and then we've got X number of purchases, right? Expenses or something. And then at another point, we're going to create a secondary list of records. And essentially what I need to do is I need to create one of these for each of those. So if I have 3 of these expenses, I need to create 3 of these things over here. Looping, yeah, you could. That would get them there like that. The actual way that I would go about this is to use like a linear, to use forced form flow. So the idea being inside the child form, right? When I save the form, there's a form event that kicks off. Okay, inside the form event, put an action that has a condition on it that's checking to see, is there a grandchild record that needs this tertiary record created for it? So you'll have to create a way to have that list, right? But that's really what you would be doing then. So I would have an action on the child that goes to the grandchild form that only kicks off if there's a grandchild that doesn't have this tertiary record for it. If that's true, go to the grandchild form for the first thing in that list of remaining stuff. Okay, then, so that does the first of the 3 grandchildren that I need to do, right? So then, this is where it gets kind of simple-ish, not kind of. Copy that action from the child record and change it from living on the child to the grandchild. Because what I need to do then is when I save that first grandchild record, I need to go back to the grandchild record form again. I need to go right back to it again. And so that's the same thing that I did on the child form, where I have a form save event with like a link to form that's inside the save event. It's the same thing. On the grandchild, when I save the grandchild record, I have a link to form that in the form is the very same one, right? And so then that takes me to the first item in the list of things to be done, which is now number 2. And then when it goes off, there's still another thing in the list because there's 3. And so then I do the third one. And then when I save the grandchild that third time, well, there's no more things to be done. So then I need a separate action that runs underneath that first one that says, cool, take me to the detail view of the parent, right? And yeah, so like that's, I call that forced form flow. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do inside there. Sometimes I like to put a field inside one of the tables that's literally navigation buttons, where like literally it's a field for this person to say, well, what do you want to do next? Do you want to add another or do you want to finish, right? And then based on whatever the person selects, those corresponding actions in the form save event kick off. Yeah. You can do a whole bunch of really, really crazy stuff like that. I actually, I prefer to do things through form actions versus relying on the is a part of thing, to where you can like the nested forms, to where I could be in the child and then like I have the new button at the bottom and I could click the new and then it takes me to the grandchild form and then I'm back to the child form and then like you get into weirdness doing that. I prefer just to like hard code it with actions this way. That's the last thing that I'm going to talk about on this one. The last one that I'm really going to talk about is I'm going to do a deep dive now on how to integrate a Google Calendar with an AppSheet app. This is something that I've had a whole bunch of people ask me how to do. And in my research, there's a couple of different ways that you could do this. One, you could use a script to manage everything. And if you do that, what you need several scripts actually. You need one to create the corresponding calendar event. So I need a table where I could have, you know, start date, end date, like basically all the calendar stuff. And then based on those details, I have a script that takes those and creates a calendar entry. Then I'd need something to update it and I need something to delete it, right? But I found that AppSheet actually integrated something. I don't know when this came about, but like this looks pretty amazing. And so this is where I'm going to dive in today. If you just natively add your calendar as a data source to your AppSheet account, then you can use the calendar as like a table. Okay. This used to be difficult. There used to be a lot of problems that you could fall into with this, but they've implemented a newer formula. I don't know if it's new. I just haven't seen it. They've implemented a formula that looks like it gives you the same ability to do the idea of what a ref rows is, but for the calendar entries. So it's like, because that's always been part of the problem was, well, how can I get a list of the related calendar entries for the person that I'm looking like user X? How can I get user X's calendar entries so that they can see them? That was always a problem. You'd have to brute force something, right? There's a formula now that's just a native thing that looks like that's what it's going to do. I'm going to go over that now. Stick to me. So if we go, make sure, yep. Okay. So let's say, so I'm going to start absolutely from scratch. So I have a folder here that you can see nothing inside here. I'm literally starting from absolute nothing so that you guys can follow along if you want. First thing I'm going to do, make a Google Sheet. Because this is going to be the thing that's actually going to store all of the main information that we need to deal with. The first thing that I really need to do, so this would be like Google Cal integration. Okay, the first thing that I want to do is I want to add a list of people. So, right, because I'm creating like theoretically like a scheduling app, right? So I need a list of people, and then I'm going to add the calendar, and then we're going to connect the two. So the first thing is the list of people. All right, now I already have some sample stuff put together. Let me clean up some of these things. All right, here we go. So I have, if you're a Patreon supporter of mine, inside the Patreon folder, there is this mock data folder, and inside here, there is a whole bunch of mock data. One of these is a bunch of people. And if I remember right, this one contains something on the order of 10,000 people. Yeah, you can see. Yep. There's 10,985 records. And they have a reference here for whatever company they belong to as well. So if you wanted to play with that, hey, I'm obviously not going to do 10,000 of these. I'm just going to like copy this first like 30-ish. And we'll bring that over here. Cool. I'm going to call this users. All right. This is done. That's all I really need. So I'm going to create an app with that. If we go back here to mock people, that needs to go away. Clean things up. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. You guys are awesome. I see your questions. I will most definitely be answering anything you got inside there. All right. So we've got our people. Let's just kind of clean up the table a little bit. Like, I don't want to see this ID column. Don't need that. We'll make the full name. Oh, yeah. See, this is a thing that AppSheet likes to do. So whenever you have two things that are the first and the last name, they always like to add this computed name, even though I've already got it here. So, yeah, that's just something to keep an eye on. And, like, that's going to come back at some point. Like, that thing will keep coming back. But the full name, all right, cool. Good enough. Done. That's all I needed. Super simple. Okay. The next thing that I want to do is, let me go back to my thing. I need to create a new calendar. So if I go to my calendar thing here, okay. So right over here, you can, if you come over here to other calendars, you got this little plus button right here. If you click that, you can create a new calendar. I generally find it's better to create a custom. I find it's better to have a custom calendar that you integrate with your AppSheet account versus just your native one. You follow what I mean? Because then you can then everything that's tied to the app is isolated on the one calendar, and you can share the one calendar with people. That's the fun. So this is going to be a AppSheet integration test. Okay. So I've now got a new calendar called AppSheet Integration Test. Okay. So now what I can do is, now that I've got this on my account, right? I have already added my Google Calendar to my AppSheet actual account as a data source. So if I go to, oops, not my apps, but my account settings. If you go to your account settings, this is where you can find the sources tab up here. And this is where you would go to add in your Google Calendar. As you can see, I've already done that myself. You just come here, click new data source, give it a name, and then come down here and select Google Calendar. All right, so that gets the calendar as data source to your account. So then I can come back to my app and I can come here and I can say, cool, give me a new table from my Google Calendar, right? And then this gives me a list. Okay, oh, hold on, let me refresh the page. It should give me a list of all of my calendar. Now watch it just not work. As I'm trying to do the deep dive, watch it not work. Okay, so new table for the calendar. Yeah, oh yeah, of course it's not gonna work. Oh, you suck. Oh, come on. Oh man. Okay, let me make sure the calendar is, go to the settings. Like, yep. No, I should be able to see this. The weird thing is I can't see any of my other calendars either. So clearly it looks like perhaps something is broken with the calendar integration. Right when I'm trying to do a deep dive. Murphy! Hi, Murphy! You're a friend, buddy! Oh, man. Well, I guess I'm not going to be doing a deep dive into how to do a calendar integration. It's going to have to wait till next time, I guess. Let's see. Can I try and, let's see. All right, let me see if I can debug this like here while I got y'all on the live stream. So I'm going to go back to my account. I'm going to go to my sources. I'm going to delete my calendar. Okay. And then I'm going to refresh this page. Just do try and do everything as much as I can. All right. I'm going to add my calendar again. So, MultiTech Google Calendar. All right. And then Google Calendar. My calendar. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Now, if we go back to my app, refresh the page, just make sure everything's updated and refreshed, right? Okay. Try new table. Try calendar. Hey, there we go. It worked this time. All right. And then we go and we find that calendar that I created. So this is a list of all of my calendars, and the one that I just made is right there. So that is the one that I want to add. And I want to do everything. Yay, troubleshooting. Oh, man. Okay, let's see. So, okay, now my app has two tables. A list of users and this AppSheet Google Calendar. So the first thing that I want to point out, this is pretty cool. The worksheet name qualifier, if you look inside here, there's this little bit of like blah, 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 blah code type stuff, whatever. Like, from days in the past, -90, days in the future, +90. Okay, I was playing with that the other day. That totally works. That's like a slice. It's like a security filter for your Google Calendar, just natively. Whatever numbers you put there, that's how many, days in the future or days in the past that it will look. One of the things that I tried was like, okay, could I put it to like 360 and 360? -365 +365 totally worked. It gave me a year in both directions. So that's the first thing I want to point out, is that this worksheet qualifier type thing gives you the ability to kind of modify how far of a window you want to look. Okay, there's that. Now, if we go to the columns and we look at, well, what are these columns that we have? So we've got the row ID, we have the title, the start, the end, the location, we have who made it, we have a list of attendees, We have a status where if we look at it is either confirmed, tentative, or canceled. They give us a web link and the meet link, which is pretty nice, and the description field. The problem that you have with this sort of integration is that you can't really modify these things too much. You can't add columns, right? So the one thing that I did notice that you could do, so when you first make this attendees is formatted as a list of something, right? And so like if I go and let's make a view. All right, hold on. So I don't want that. I don't need that. Okay, so just the thing of users, and then I want just the thing for the calendar. Okay. All right, save my view. So all right, now I've got a calendar deck view. So if we look at the record, right? So blah, 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 blah. So the attendees, right? I'm trying to click that. You can't click on it. You can't modify it because it's set as this list type. I did notice though, you can come in here, right? So it's a list of emails. Remember that. So I did notice you can change this to an enum list of a base type emails, like with the drop down. And like now I can get in here and I can modify that. If I save it, it'll let me put stuff inside it, which is pretty nice because now I can play with it. See what I mean? Now it's editable for me, and I can come in here and I can be like, this person at email.com and someone else at email.com, right? And then like now those people are going to be included in the thing that we're scheduling here. Okay. Now at the beginning of this live stream, I talked about how Google had implemented there's a formula that you could use that looks like it basically gives you the equivalent of the ref rows formula for a reference, but for the calendar stuff. And that's these things down here at the bottom. You've got this gcal meetings from, and then you've got this gcal meetings with, right? And the idea is it's like the same format for ref rows, right? This is the name of my table, right? Whatever my calendar table is. And then I have a column that is the email, right? And it looks like this could be maybe a list. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to try it. That's what we're going to test out right now. So first thing I want to try is, let's see, did AppSheet create something in users for me automatically? Okay, no, they did not. That's too bad. So let's come back here and let's copy this gcal meetings from. Okay, and then go to my account, my app, go to my user table and make a new virtual column with, I need to put, instead of calendar, I need, AppSheet integration test. That's the name of my calendar table. Okay. All right. Well, hold on. And then creator instead of email. Let's see if this works. Nope. All right. Well, let's see if I save this. Okay. Nope. That didn't work. All right. So what is it complaining about? Expression gcal requires a data source Google Calendar. Well, I have one. Maybe I have to call it that. No? Okay. All right. Maybe it has to be hard-coded as just calendar. Welcome to a live exploration. Never used this thing before. I just found it the other day and I was like, oh, this is dope. I wonder how it works. Clearly it's not. Add this data source to your account. Yeah, I have one though. Like, mate, it's right here. See, and like it says so it's clearly, like if you look at this part right here, it's clearly saying that this source ID is a calendar ID, right? So it clearly understands that to a degree. Perhaps this will be a to be continued. Use the following formula in a virtual column to find meeting requests sent by each customer. The generic structure is blah, 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 blah. Calendar table, sender email. Let's see, is between, all right, the most common associations between another table and a calendar table are via the creator and attendees column. For example, consider an app with two tables, customers with a column called email and calendar. We have provided two built-in formula functions to easily construct virtual columns in the customer table that model the related calendar entries, right? Yeah, so like ref rows, right? It's the exact same thing, but this just doesn't seem okay. Maybe let's try. Okay, so this is the name of my thing. Let's just try calendar, right? And I'll do a deep save. Okay, so now this is called calendar, and then I'm going to call creator. I'm going to conform this to the thing that can I change this column name? I can. Hey, cool. I didn't even know you could do that. I figured it would say no. Okay, so now that calendar with a straight email column. This is the exact thing that they have, calendar and an email. So, right? Right? Let's see if this works. Okay, so we go here, we go here. No, of course not. All right. Has anybody, all right, I'm looking at the chat now. Has anybody ever gotten this to work? Nope. Okay. Well, okay, well, let's see. Maybe if I change this to a list of references to the calendar, maybe that'll like force it to get the right. No. See, it's complaining that I don't have a Google Calendar data source added to my account, but clearly I do. I guess we could test and make sure that integration works first by trying to create a calendar entry. All right, so like if I just come over here and I'm like, test, right? It's for today at today's time for a half hour. Cool. Confirmed. Sure. I'm going to push that. I'm going to go look at my calendar somewhere. Okay. Yeah. See, it totally worked. So, right there's a thing that it just created right there. So it works. I created the entry through the AppSheet app, and I'm now seeing it inside my Google Calendar. Okay. So clearly we're looking at there's some funkiness going on with that formula, some kind of bug or something. You know, this is what you get. This is where you get. I'm going to try a few other things. Like, okay, I'm going to come in here, go back to my users, go into here. Oh, maybe I have to, no, it makes sense to do it this way. So, okay, but like, what if I get rid of that? Nope. Yeah, see, it's constantly complaining. Like, it doesn't see the fact that I have a Google Calendar connected. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, that's too bad. Dang it. It's too bad that didn't work. Nope. Thanks, Paola. Yeah. This was like when I found this thing, I was like, yo, this looks like this would be really cool. Because when I was reading it, I'm like, you know, when I look at this sort of structure that they put out here for this thing, I'm like, yo, that's the same type of thing that you do for ref rows. And so if this works the same way as the ref rows works over there, man, this would make, like, if it worked the exact same way, like, could I do list dereferences through this thing? Boy, that'd be helpful. Like, if it works the same way, this would be amazing. But clearly there's some bugs inside the system, so it doesn't work yet. I'm going to send this little clip to AppSheet support and see what they got to say about this. And in the future, we'll come back and readdress this and eventually make like a one and done. This is how you do it. All right. I see there are some questions in the chat. Let's get to it. Okay, hey, everybody. I see Paola's got a question. You're the first one I found so far. Regarding the sync action, you just talked about, why do you use today plus one as opposed to now? I actually do use now. The code that I use for my sync is the thing, I think it was Alexi was the original person that threw that out there, but like if I show you, yeah, here, I have it on my my macro keyboard that I use. So if I go and I show you, so like I'll usually drop down something like, you know, a link to row, and then I'll throw this little sync thing at the end. And yeah, this little sync thing is really where it's all at. You know, it's this, whoa, a little way too big. There we go. It's this little guy right here. Yeah. And yeah, now I guess you could probably put today inside there. Maybe, I don't know. That was the original code that I got from, Alexi like half a decade ago. It's crazy to think that things have been going on that long. Yeah, I think that today would work though. Let's see. Other questions. Time zones. You could try scripting for that to run on a schedule. Oh, yeah. Ami, I see what you're talking about. So, ooh, that's actually a really good solution. So earlier I was talking about, one of the questions was, how can you do things on a, what's going on here? Oh, sorry. I'm trying to, there we go. I was trying to get back here and I'm like, why isn't the thing working? I was not on the right control page. Previously I was talking about like how the question was, how could I send things out on a schedule for custom times for a person? Can't do it in AppSheet, but yeah, you could totally create a script that would run, you know, whatever, runs all the time. That's looking for specific times for specific people, and when that happens, it goes and like collects all the things and then makes an email. Totally. Yeah, you're right. Man, I'll tell you what, that's really why I've kind of centered around AppSheet and like the Google Sheets, and like, it's because of scripts. Like, it's a potent mix, those three things: AppSheet, Google Sheets, and Google Apps Script. Those three things, like, there's very little you can't do inside the software world. You know what I mean? Let's see. Jared says, why don't they have folders in there? Are they planning to add them? That was one of the first things that I saw. He's talking about on the new My Apps page, how they don't have folders. Like in Google Drive, you can create a folder and then, you know, whatever, folderized stuff. They don't have that. That was one of the first things that I saw that was requested inside the announcement for the new My Apps thing. People were like, yeah. And I think I threw that out there too. Yeah, absolutely. That's a given. That would make things so much easier. Love your attitude. I would have panicked. Yeah, you know, when things go wrong, hey, you know, it's the thing that I have a unique viewpoint from that though. When things go wrong and you're on camera, like, that's content. Like, when things go wrong, that's the best time to turn the camera on, because that's the stuff that everybody wants to see. It's difficult to stay cool under pressure, right? I appreciate it, Paola. Oh man. Let's see. Is there a chance to have a perpetual calendar inside the from days in the past to days in the future? Oh yeah. You know, I don't think you could. You're talking about inside the so like inside the app. If I delete that and I go back to the calendar, right? I think you're talking about this little thing right here. Like, is there a way to have that everything? Looks like no. It looks like they've hard coded to where that thing is inside there. Maybe you could do something like 1,000. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've never tried, but like maybe, I don't know. I don't know what the biggest number you can put inside one of these things is. So like, let's see if it took that number. So there you go. Okay, never mind. It took the number, but it didn't like it. All right, we'll delete one, and let's see if that works. We'll find the number of characters that you can have inside that together. Eventually, it'll load. There it is. So the maximum that you can have inside there is, looks like 3 characters. So if I change all of these to 9, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's see if that will let me have it. Happy days? Happy days. So that's what you can do. That 900,999,999. That's the furthest back you can go. And that's pretty dang far. You know what I mean? What is that? 123 divided by 365. You know, I mean, it's 2,700 years in the past. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything, right? That's pretty perpetual. Wouldn't you agree? That's fun. Oh, let's see. Anything else? Let me rephrase the question. Okay, Paola. Why sync to tomorrow instead of syncing to right now if the goal is to have the data up to date? I see what you're saying. Yeah, the thing is, so it's all about the mechanisms that AppSheet put in place for how the sync thing works, right? How the process works, the mechanics of how AppSheet's actually making it work. If you were to put in now and not do the +1 and just say now, there might be the chance to where the timestamp that it uses is not in the future. Okay, so like if it's using now, then maybe you got to think all this happens like that, right? But there is like an order of operations inside there, and so it's like it sets the timestamp, and then like time is moved beyond that timestamp so that it's no longer that time anymore. Could be something like that. Don't know. Yeah, that was just always that little code with the now +1. That was just the thing, and like it was just copy, simple, easy, done. Call it good. I'm curious to see. Let me know if you try it. If you try the force sync, but you don't have the +1 on the thing, does it still force sync? That's the question. I don't know. Yeah, man. Facebook. I'm not really on Facebook very much. Like I'm not a social media. I'm not a socials person. The one place that I do kind of post stuff, kind of not really, is Twitter. But I really kind of gave up on that too. I appreciate, follow me here on YouTube. This is basically where I put everything out. That's all I got. Any other, a time schedule bot? What are you asking? What do you mean there? Tanjid? What are you looking for? A time schedule bot. Looks like that everything. No audio. I only got the background music. Oh, but it's such good background music. No. Yeah, man. A time schedule bot. Yep. All right. Well, I'm gonna bounce. We're already 18 minutes over. I like to try and keep these things at the hour moment. It's too bad that calendar thing didn't work. That's like 2 times in a row now that I tried to do something, and it didn't work. The first time was with the nested PDF thing, and now this. So, whatever. It is what it is. That's how it goes. I thank everybody for watching. I really do appreciate you all. You are my rocks. You keep me going. I love it. If you have any suggestions for things that you would like to see, let me know in the comments below. If you want access to any of the tools or things that I have available, you can check it out over to patreon.com. I'm working on rescheduling. I'm working on revamping. I'm remodeling how I'm doing everything. So stay tuned. Appreciate it, everybody. All right, that's all I got for you today. Stay safe. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you in the community. Happy apping, everybody.